Let's clear something up before we start. No government agency has legally banned these vehicles from garages, and there's no bylaw stopping you parking one in your carport. What's actually happening is more serious in a different way. The Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications, Sport, and the Arts, working alongside the ACCC and the manufacturers themselves, has issued active recalls instructing owners of these 12 vehicles to park outside, away from homes and other cars, because each one carries a documented, confirmed risk of catching fire even when sitting parked with the ignition off. If you own one of these 12, this isn't clickbait. Go check your VIN today. Drop your state or territory in the comments, because recall completion rates and dealer wait times genuinely vary depending on where in the country you are. Let's run through the list from 12 down to 1. Number 12, the Mini Cooper SE, model years 2020 through 2023. This one flew under the radar for a lot of Australian owners. 1,408 vehicles recalled locally after regulators found the high-voltage battery management software had insufficient protection against short-circuit events. If a short circuit occurs, the notice explicitly warns it could lead to a vehicle fire whilst driving or parked. As a BMW Group subsidiary, Mini moved quickly on this one. But if you're driving a Cooper SE from this window and haven't had the software addressed, it's worth checking today. Number 11. The Kia Carnival 2020 model year specifically recalled for an alternator fault. Kia Australia pulled back 2,241 units after identifying that the alternator itself carried a genuine fire risk under certain conditions. It's a smaller recall in raw numbers, but it's part of a pattern with this specific nameplate that's worth paying attention to, which we'll come back to shortly. Number 10. The Ford Ranger, Everest F-150, and Transit, all tied together by one surprising cause, an ARB Solis light accessory. This recall affected 2,696 vehicles in Australia and centers on a fault in the aftermarket driving light setup, rather than anything Ford itself built. Ford has confirmed one actual fire linked to the fault where the lights were fitted as a Ford-licensed accessory through a dealership, and owners are advised to park outside and away from flammable materials until the defect is rectified. Ford is providing an interim light deactivation fix while parts become available for the full repair. Number 9. The BMW 3 Series, 5 Series, and 7 Series plug-in hybrids. This is a smaller Australian recall in raw numbers, around 300 vehicles, but it's notable because it's a genuinely separate issue from the starter motor problem we'll get further down the list. Owners of these specific PHEV variants are being told to park away from structures and other vehicles because of a battery-related fire risk, a reminder that plug-in hybrids carry an extra layer of complexity, an extra risk that a standard petrol BMW doesn't. Number 8. The Nissan X-Trail, specifically petrol-only pre-facelift versions sold in Australia. These have been called back to workshops over a potential fuel leak, and a fuel leak sitting near a hot engine bay is exactly the kind of defect that turns into a fire risk if left unaddressed. If you're driving an X-Trail from this window, checking your VIN takes 2 minutes, and it's worth doing before your next long trip. Number 7. The Volvo EX30, an electric small SUV currently under an active Australian recall as work continues locally to replace defective battery modules that could spark vehicle fires. Volvo has one of the more transparent public recall processes in the country, but the fact that a car this new is already dealing with a battery fire issue is a useful reminder that being brand new doesn't mean being risk-free, particularly with EV battery packs. Number 6. The Toyota GR Supra, 4-cylinder 2.0-liter variant specifically. This one's genuinely interesting because it's not really a Toyota-caused defect at all. The Supra shares its starter motor with several BMW models due to their joint development, and when BMW discovered the starter could corrode from water ingress and short circuit, the Supra got swept into the same global recall. Only the base 4-cylinder engine is affected. The more popular 6-cylinder Supra uses a different starter entirely and isn't part of this recall. Even Toyota's own reliability reputation, which we've praised repeatedly on this channel, isn't immune when a shared component from a partner brand turns out to be the weak link. Number 5. The Kia Cerato and Kia Seltos, BD Generation and SP2, generation respectively, built between 2020 and 2022. Kia Australia recalled 9,534 examples of these two models after identifying a potential engine defect that increases the risk of vehicle fire. This is a genuinely significant number for two of Kia's best-selling passenger models in this country. And it's worth checking your VIN even if the car has been running perfectly, because this is exactly the kind of defect that shows no warning symptoms until it does. Number 4. The Hyundai Ioniq and Kona Electric model years 2018 through 2023. Hyundai Australia issued a formal fire risk recall covering these EVs, warning that a vehicle fire can increase the risk of injury or death to occupants, other road users, and bystanders. Owners of affected units are being contacted directly to schedule a battery diagnosis, either a software update or a full battery cell rectification, depending on what technicians find, all free of charge. Number 3. The Kia Carnival V6, this time from the 2026 model year specifically. Close to 6,000 V6 powered Carnivals were recalled in Australia in July 2026 over a fuel leak at the connection between the fuel pipe and fuel rail, a defect that increases fire risk if left unaddressed. This is the same nameplate we already flagged at number 11 for a completely separate alternator issue, which tells you something worth knowing if you're Carnival shopping. This is a vehicle that's had more than one fire-related recall inside a few short years, even though the underlying causes have been unrelated each time. Number 2. The Jeep Wrangler and Jeep Gladiator, 2020 through 2024 model years. This is the recall that made global headlines, part of a campaign covering more than 1.3 million vehicles worldwide, with 9,199 of those registered right here in Australia. The problem traces back to an electrical connection in the hydraulic power steering pump wiring, which can develop resistance over time and overheat nearby combustible material. Stellantis Australia has confirmed at least 72 fires linked to this fault globally, and as of the most recent update, the actual repair itself is still not available locally, expected to properly launch sometime between July and September 2026, which leaves affected owners in genuine park-outside limbo for months rather than weeks. Number 1. The combined Kia Carnival and Kia Sorento recall. The largest fire risk campaign on this entire list for the Australian market, covering 26,926 Carnival people movers and 3,288 Sorento SUVs recalled together. Between the scale of this recall and the separate Carnival alternator and fuel leak issues sitting elsewhere on this list, Kia's people mover and midsize SUV lineup has had a genuinely rough run of fire-related campaigns in this country over the past few years. None of these recalls suggest Kia builds unsafe cars broadly. Plenty of owners never experience an issue. But if you're currently driving a Carnival or Sorento from any of the affected build windows, checking your VIN against all of Kia Australia's active recalls, not just one, is worth the 10 minutes it takes. Here's what actually matters if you own one of these 12. A park outside recall is not a reason to panic. The actual number of fires relative to the total vehicles on Australian roads remains genuinely low. But it is absolutely a reason to act immediately rather than waiting for a letter to arrive in the post. Check your VIN through the manufacturer's recall page or the Product Safety Australia recall database right now, and follow whatever instruction comes back exactly as written, whether that's parking outside, avoiding charging, or booking a dealer appointment. These incidents are rare in absolute numbers, but when they happen without warning, and that's exactly why regulators are treating every vehicle on this list with this level of urgency. If this list just told you something you didn't already know about your own vehicle, hit like so it reaches other owners before they find out the hard way. Subscribe for more straight talk breakdowns like this one, because recall lists like this change constantly, and we'll keep tracking every update as it happens. And drop a comment with your state and whether your dealer has actually completed your repair yet, because real wait times reported by owners across this country tell a more honest story than any press release ever will. Buy smart, not by trend.